Hello and welcome to PiscesMoon Astrology. I'm your astrologer, Kate Leonard, and I'm excited to explore the stars with you. Hi everyone. Welcome to the week of March 2nd through March 8th. This week we're talking about whether we should follow our brains or our guts. Why is that? Because right around March 2nd, depending on where you're located, it might be March 1st. Mercury is going to form a conjunction with Neptune, Mercury the intellect, and Neptune who rules illusion and delusion. This is happening in watery, emotional, spiritual Pisces. Okay, so we're going to be talking about that. That's the main thing. You know how I usually give you guys some of the other things going on this week? Really, so much is happening in Pisces that I'm just going to focus on this Mercury-Neptune conjunction. But with that said, I do want to give just a little disclaimer. I am a medical astrologer as well as being a general astrologer, and I do want to just give kind of a not warning, but some information and a suggestion. I'm not going to be talking about the medical implications of this transit, but I do want to say that it is one that can be linked to some mental health issues and also to addiction issues. So if you find yourself over the next week or even starting now, because the conjunction is right in front of us by the time I put this out, definitely seek help. Because you listen to this, don't wait for the transit to pass or something, right? Because when these things come up, even when they're connected to planetary energies, you still want to take really good care of you. You want to seek help, whatever that means for you. Okay. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not giving any medical advice. I just wanted to point out that those kinds of issues can come up around this time. So, if you have those tendencies, just kind of look out for them and do what you need to do. Take care of you. Okay. So with all of that said, we're going to jump right into it. Like I said, this is happening on March 1st or 2nd, depending on where you are, and it's all taking place in the sign of Pisces. I will touch on this a little bit later, but we are in eclipse season. And where are the eclipses this time around? They're in Virgo and Pisces. So in some ways, by the time you hear this, we'll be just past the new moon. That new moon was definitely like a little preview of eclipse energy. Again, I'm not going to go into that right here because I just don't have time. But whatever came up for you around the new moon, you may be getting a bigger, bolder blast of that when we get to the eclipse. And also what we're talking about today, this Mercury-Neptune conjunction, it's a little bit of a preview, and it's in the sign that will be opposing the total lunar eclipse in Virgo. And so it's activating that energy. So let's get into the actual nuts and bolts of what it means when Mercury, the god of the intellect and communication and contracts, things like that, but really think intellect for this one, right? Meets up with Neptune. Okay, so the first thing I want to touch on is the condition of Mercury in Pisces. Ancient astrologers had a way of talking about whether planets were really strong and happy or kind of weak and not so happy. And the weak and not so happy classifications were planets in certain signs were called in their fall or in their detriment. In this case, Mercury in Pisces is in both his fall and his detriment. Okay, it's really bad. It is the only planet that has both fall and detriment in one sign. Okay, because it's that kind of bad. All right. Why is that? Mercury moves fast, right? He's all over. He's the messenger of the gods, right? He takes info back and forth to the other gods, right? He's the one, if you think of his statue as Hermes, he's got the wings on his feet. He's air. He wants to go, right? He's our intellect, moving, thinking, right? He's that kind of energy. Pisces is the ocean. It is everything not mercurial. It is slow and deep and yeah, slow and deep, right? Think about if you've ever taken or even seen anyone take like a water aerobics class. Why do they do that? Because the water makes it harder to move. It is the resistance. The water gives resistance. If you've ever tried to walk like in the shallow end of a swimming pool and you're trying to walk to the other side, you're walking against the pressure of the water and it takes more effort and you go slower. Mercury hates that a whole big old giant lot. All right. He doesn't like it at all. So the other thing is the ocean, Pisces. Pisces is considered really the most spiritual sign in the zodiac. It's spirit, it's emotion, it's that deep subconscious, pre-birth, karmic, all of that kind of stuff, right? And Mercury is our minds, pure and simple. It's intellect. These are, again, really opposite modalities, both good, but really, really opposite. So you put Mercury in Pisces and he's going, what do you want me to do? and what we get, think of looking at things underwater. I know if you listen to me or read my Substack, which you should be doing, I talk about this all the time. Think about going underwater and opening your eyes. You see things, but you do not see with the kind of clarity that we see if we're looking through air. Why do we picture mermaids underwater, right? Because there's something mystical about it, right? There's something very otherworldly about it. So what happens when we get Mercury, who wants to be all clear thinking and everything, down there in those spiritual waters? We actually get kind of foggy, or that's probably not the right word, but yeah, we get distorted. Our thoughts can be really off. We might not be able to think our way through things so easily. And besides just sort of not having clarity of thought, we might actually find ourselves going off into like fantasy ideas and stuff. So we're trying to make a concrete plan. And instead, what we're doing is sort of fantasizing like things that are very unrealistic or ungrounded, right? Water, ungrounded. And so it's not that any of that is bad. It's just really, it makes it hard for us to come to those clear-headed kinds of ideas and decisions and that kind of thing. All right. So now let's bring Neptune into the mix. I know modern astrologers say that Neptune rules Pisces. That is simply not the case. Jupiter rules Pisces. Neptune wasn't even discovered when house rulerships were formed, right? So Neptune rules nothing. But Neptune is the god of the ocean and he loves Pisces. So I don't like Neptune, and we're going to get to why I don't in just a minute, but we really do get his best in Pisces because unlike Mercury, Neptune is very much in his element. Neptune is about dissolving boundaries. Neptune is about spiritual union, dissolving the boundary between me and the other, making that sense of me and the other not even real. He connects us to the divine. He connects us to creative imagination. So he's very much about certain kinds of art forms, like acting, movies as a genre, so script writing, fiction writing, all of those kinds of things that, here's why. Neptune rules lying. So what is fiction? What is acting? What is all of that stuff? I'm not really that person I'm playing on stage, right? I'm quote lying. I'm doing the bunny ears now. Can you see me when I do that into the microphone? This is about made up stuff. So Neptune loves that kind of stuff because he is creative and he is imaginative and all of that stuff that Mercury is very much not. Mercury wants to like write contracts. Neptune wants to write scripts, right? It's very different. But the reason he does is because he lies. He rules lying, he rules illusion, delusion, all of that kind of stuff. So I know it sounds kind of like, oh, we've got Mercury, right? Meeting liar, liar, pants on fire, Neptune. No, because Neptune is so strong in Pisces. So we are getting his best. We are getting intuition. That's the kind of knowing he represents. So now we have the two joining forces, but we've got strong Neptune and we've got weak Mercury. Like always, there's kind of a good and bad side to this. You know, there's always like if we get the best, if we get the worst kind of scenarios. So let me start with the best of what we might get here. Some of us will be inspired creatively. And I know I always mention writers and artists and that kind of thing, and there's no way not to, especially you actors, fiction writers, all of you people. This is your time. This is like diving into the ocean of creativity and being divinely inspired, right? But this is true for anybody who's creative. And you can be creative in how you raise your children, how you play with your children, how you interact with your elderly parents. You know, you can be creative in how you approach your job, how you supervise your employees. You can be creative in the bedroom with your partner, right? So when I say writers, artists, and creative types, I don't want anyone to feel left out of that because we all have creativity in us in greater and lesser degrees, and we use it in different ways in different areas of life. So, what do I always say? Where is Pisces in your natal chart? I've had a lot of people telling me that they're not exactly sure what to do with the podcast information. They like it, they tell me, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you, you guys who get in contact with me and say you love the podcast. I am so grateful. You don't know what that does to me. But I have had a lot of you say, like, I love it, but I'm not exactly sure how I use it. You look at where it's hitting in your natal chart. I cannot stress that enough. You've got to see what house is Pisces occupying, because that's going to be the area of life where you're most going to see this. It doesn't mean that if we don't have Pisces, you know, in an important house, because some are more important than others, it doesn't mean this isn't going to touch us. But truthfully, we might feel this less. We don't all feel all the transits the same, right? Some are hitting our planets, they're in angular houses, which are the more important houses, and we feel it big time. Some of us, it just isn't doing as much in our chart, and that's why we feel that week's energy a little bit less. So you got to look at where it's hitting in your chart. What are those house topics? That's where you're going to either feel this sort of inspiration, this creative inspiration. The other good thing that we will feel, and wherever this hits in your chart, you'll feel it there, is a deeper connection to spirit. Whatever that is for you, whether that's your religious faith, whether that is your just sense of being connected to universal energy, whatever it means to you, that's what this is for you, right? Meditation will go deeper, creative visualization, prayer you'll feel more connected. However, spirituality works in your life, this is a time when we can really deepen that connection. And for those of you who are woo-woo, and I know a lot of you who listen to me are, how could you not be? This is a really good time to work on all of the intuitive, psychic, channeling, all of that kind of stuff, because Neptune dissolves boundaries. So the boundary between us and our ancestor spirits, if that's your thing, between us and the angels and saints, if you do that, between us and cosmic truth, whatever your thing is, Neptune dissolves those bounds, and we can really, this could be a week where we're feeling like we're downloading wisdom, downloading deeper, more powerful psychic skills, whatever it is. And we may just be downloading messages that we're supposed to have, so like there's just knowledge in our head that really is sort of, we don't know why do I think that? Where did that come from? That's not Mercury. Mercury, you know where it came from. You were thinking of it. You were going step A, step B, step C. No, this will just come to you and you'll have this like inspired idea. Yeah, that's this energy, right? So that's the good stuff. There can be a lack of clarity. So the bad side to this, first off, people could be lying to you. Yes, they could. All right. So who might be lying to you? Look at what house this is happening in. But you know what? You probably won't catch them straight out, right? You probably won't catch them like, oh, that detail, that logical, mercurial kind of knowing. But in your gut, you'll be like, why are you lying to me? I feel like you're lying to me. Trust your gut, because that liar, liar, pants on fire Neptune, he will lie. All right. And if you feel like someone's not being straight up with you, they probably aren't. So trust your gut. But the other thing that might come up for you this week, and I've said this already before, but this is kind of the downside, even with this strong Neptune, is if you're not used to really following your intuition and feeling it and living by it, you might feel underwater. You might feel murky. You know that, I don't know if when you were kids, stay with me here. When I used to play in a pool when I was a kid, they used to like throw a penny in the deep end of the pool. And from above the surface of the water, you couldn't quite, you could see the penny, but not clearly. And you would dive in, we would dive in, and we would have to get the penny and bring it back up, right? That was the game. Yeehaw. What fun we had when we were kids. Anyway, sometimes because of navigating that distorted underwater world, we would run out of breath before we came to the penny, before we could get the penny, and we would have to come up, and then we were the losers, and everybody laughed at us because that's how it was back then. Anyway, we could be having some of those kind of experiences where you think you see the prize, you think you know where you're headed, and you find that it's just a little bit harder to navigate. That absolutely can come up, because even those of us who are really comfortable sort of going with our gut feelings and following them, Mercury is in this picture and Mercury's not happy. So our head could be fighting with us, right? It'll be like, no, I feel like I should, the penny's over here. I should be aiming this way. And then your head will get involved and be like, no, that doesn't make sense. You've got to do it this way and do this other thing. And then you'll get all discombobulated. That kind of thing could be happening because Neptune's not acting alone. Mercury is literally like sitting in his lap right then, right? So we're going to have some of that distortion feeling because our head is going to get involved. But still, the way to make it through, the way to navigate this week is to try to follow your gut. Silence the naysayer, Mercury. When you start getting into, oh, but I don't know how that's going to work out, all of that stuff, make it stop. Try to follow your gut. For you people who are true artists, writers, those kind of creative people out here, let your powers flow. And this is true for everybody, not just artists and writers, but let that creativity flow. Get out of your head. That's the message. See, why don't I just say that at the beginning? And this episode could have been 1 minute long, but that's not my style. This week, we all have to work on getting out of our heads because it's not the thing that's leading us correctly. It's not going to be easy to do that, but that's the goal, okay? Get out of our heads, follow our guts. Now, I do want to just a couple of more minutes. Sorry, I know it's long. We've had this feeling before, first off, because we've had Saturn and Neptune, both in Pisces, where they still are both, for a couple of years. Saturn, he's different from Mercury, but he's very much earthy, no nonsense, do everything by the book, where Neptune's like, no, let's like go color crayon on the walls and then lie and say we didn't do it. Really, really different energy. So in some ways, this Mercury-Neptune conjunction, I feel like it's punctuating, putting that exclamation point on this lesson we're all supposed to be learning. And lesson, let me tell you, we get on the 14th, let me check to make sure. Yes, we get a total, did I say it? Yes, I said it, total lunar eclipse on March 14th. This is the first eclipse of this new axis of eclipses, first eclipse of eclipse season. Okay, what does this mean? What's Virgo about? First, ruled by Mercury. Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So see the connection? It's opposite Pisces. So what's going on here? I'm going to talk more about the eclipse in its own episode, but I want you to see this as a preview. Pay attention to what's going on for you this week, because if you think this is weird, we're getting that same energy like hyper slammed at us. What does that even mean, hyper slammed? We're getting that same energy like the kapow version of it when the eclipse happens. Virgo, ruled by Mercury, is all about what? Logic, getting the details right, careful planning, perfectionism, but based on logic, based on intellect. The south node of the moon is going to be there, and that means we are to let go of some of that need for perfection, that need to control, that need to take care of every detail, right? And on the other side, the north node, where we're supposed to be growing, where is that? In Pisces. So I want you to look at this week as kind of a preview, see how it's feeling, get into your intuitive space, and get ready for the eclipse, because we're going to get a big kaboom. When that hits, it's a total eclipse. We're going to be feeling it. Look at where Virgo and Pisces are in your charts, all right? These are the areas where we're going to get karmic, fated change around these areas of detail-oriented intellect and deep, heartfelt, gut-felt spirituality and intuition. Make sense? I really hope it does. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Please, 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 if you're not sharing, if you would, I would be ever so grateful. You can do what I can't by sharing the podcast out with other people. Thank you. I hope you have an amazing artistic, spiritual, whatever it is, week. And until next week, go out and seize the energies of the stars. This is my wish for you always. And I will see you on the other side of it. Bye.